Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, the Drafted Up Podcast. That's Nick. I'm Theo. You know where to find us. We're on Twitter at DraftedUp_pod. Apple, YouTube, Spotify. Search Drafted Up Podcast. We'll be there. I updated our link tree today that will include all of these links. It also includes our two sponsor. We're all ready to go. The fantasy season, for the most part, hopefully, all of you, is over. You're not playing week 18.
Hopefully.
So today, it's Tuesday. It's New Year's Eve. We're going to preview championship week of fantasy football. The games, we're going to recap, not preview. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good. Officially done with fantasy football. It's all in the past now. 2024 fantasy season over. Got a couple championships under the belt. Lost our main home league, so that's rough. So just got to ride out this last couple months here with the belt until I have to give it up.
Yeah, so the belt will be appearing here and there, and after that, it'll be a full fantasy season where you guys will not see it.
Yep.
Yeah. Way to go,
Sad.
Egg.
Yeah, freaking
Egg
Egg.
is the guy who won our home league. Speaking of leagues, I was briefly talking to you through Messenger. We're thinking about starting up a little dynasty startup league for the podcast and the podcast listeners. So if that's something you're interested in, I did tweet about it. I've posted it on my socials. I know I've seen you post it on yours. But if you're not following us on socials or you're not a social media guy and you just listen to the podcast here, comment. And, I got a couple feelers out there. I got some people really interested. So I'm hoping to get 12 to 14 teams and make it a real fun, competitive dynasty league. That's always the goal there. So if you're interested, shoot a comment below and we'll get things started here. We're hoping to do that for this season sometime after the NFL draft, once all the prospects have been drafted to teams, and then we'll include them in the draft. So
Yes, sir.
Let's get this show on the road. It's Tuesday. Like I said, we're going to recap week 17 championship week, and then we're back and bringing you a prospect, each of us in the prospect spotlight series. So Thursday football, Wednesday football,
Wednesday football. Christmas football. Yeah.
We may have touched base on these games last week. I don't remember. Chiefs played Steelers. It was a snoozer. Kansas City whooped up on them 29-10. They improved to 15-1, locked in the bye. They're the number one seed in the AFC. Pittsburgh, they're in the playoffs, but their seeding's pretty well done for. They fall to 10-6. Patrick Mahomes, if you wrote him out all year, you were probably happy with him. Championship week, 320 and 3 touchdowns for Patty Mahomes.
Yeah, if he made it that far with him, hey man, congratulations. You made it a lot further than 90% of teams with Patrick Mahomes at the realm there.
Yeah. But hey, you were streaming quarterbacks and you just had them and you went with them. Can't imagine you would have on a tough matchup against Pittsburgh. But hey, Mahomes, he finishes pretty strong. He was much better in the back half of the year than he was early on in the fantasy season. He did finish as a top 10 quarterback in, standard quarterback scoring. So just not where you drafted him. Obviously, he was a top 3 quarterback draft pick.
Yeah, I'm sure there were teams out there starting him this week, but like you said, it's not many. You were able to pick up Bo Nix, maybe even Jaden Daniels at the beginning of the year if no one drafted him. So hopefully you weren't starting Mahomes all year.
Yeah. That Kansas City backfield was a mess to end the season.
Always has
continued
been.
Into championship week. Kareem Hunt, 9 carries, 20 yards. He did score. Pacheco, 6 for 18. Completely irrelevant for fantasy at the championship round. We've brought it up here. This is them. They're saving him for the playoffs. He's going to get the extra week off. I doubt he even plays week 18. So
no, he won't. Probably not.
Yeah. And
I doubt we see any Chiefs out there come week 18, but we'll get there Thursday, I guess.
Xavier Worthy is the biggest talking point here for Kansas City.
He's been consistent.
Another great game. 8 for 79 and a touchdown. 2 carries for 10 yards. This is another week where he's been heavily involved. Played over 80% of the snaps for the 4th week in a row. He's been fantasy relevant 3 of those 4 weeks. he's scoring, he's being involved. He's a guy like we were out on here at the back end of the year. And now he's a guy looking into next year. He's going to be falling in that range where we're going to be trying to predict a breakout, try to overdraft him. He might go as a top 24 wide receiver going into next season.
There's a chance that happens, but I think with Rashid Rice coming back, I think he takes a lot of that targets away. Like, I don't think he's going to have 11 targets, 9 targets. I think Rashid Rice is going to eat back a lot of the targets, and Worthy's just going to be schemed back into the offense. But okay. I'm not huge on Worthy. I really haven't been. He's looked good. He's looked great, though. I'm not going to take his flowers away. The last 3 weeks, he's looked better than I thought he could ever look as an NFL player. So, and it's his rookie year, so he's only going to get better, theoretically.
Yeah. And Travis Kelce finally comes back to the fantasy world. Ugh. 8 for 84 and a touchdown.
Of course he did.
A great game. If you wrote it out with Kelce, kudos to you.
Jaylen Warren looked nice on the other side, though. Not much of Pittsburgh. Not much of Pittsburgh to really talk about, but Jaylen Warren looked good.
Yeah. Russell Wilson, 205 yards, interception, a rushing touchdown, 55 yards on the ground. So a little vintage Russ, seeing him run the ball a little. But yeah, the Pittsburgh's running game in general, like Najee had a good stat line, 74 yards on 13 carries, just wasn't involved in the passing game, didn't get to the end zone. But Jaylen Warren, like I said, 11 for 71. He also had 5 grabs for 41 yards, and it'll be interesting to see what this Pittsburgh backfield looks like next year. Najee, pending free agent. Jaylen Warren, I believe, is also a restricted free agent.
I believe so.
So, I'm not a contract guy, so I don't know everyone's contract off the top of my head, but he'll be back, I imagine, if a team tries to sign him, the Pittsburgh will just match unless it's insane amount of money, which I can't see Jaylen Warren getting at all.
No, he's been pretty injury prone throughout his career, especially this season. Injury bug really riddled him most of the season, to be honest. So I expect Warren to be back. Najee, though, I expect to get a deal somewhere else.
Yeah, now, Najee Harris, do you think he's a starting back next year somewhere, or do you think he's falling more into a committee role?
I think he could be a starter. It depends on if a team is willing to give him that shot. Like, he broke 1,000 yards again. He's had 4 straight years, 1,000 yards. So I think he deserves a chance as a starter. But I think he could also be a really good split back with, like, a Detroit kind of system.
Yeah.
Because Najee's a really good player.
Yeah, he's a better NFL back than he is fantasy back. He's not going to give you a ton of fantasy upside. He's a good floor guy. You think there's a chance that he just tests the market and he just ends up back in Pittsburgh? Because that's where I'm leaning.
That's definitely a possibility. If Pittsburgh's willing to bring back both these guys, they're both really consistent when they're both healthy and on the field. So it's definitely not a bad idea if they're willing to pay out for both of them.
No.
But it's a deep running back class, so if they want to bring in Warren and then just draft a rookie, that wouldn't be out of the picture.
Yeah. Pickens, 3 for 50. The little dud to end the year for fantasy football in terms of his performance. He was also banged up, but he's a guy. He's going to be high on draft boards next year, I think, because he's been, for the most part, really good this year. We'll see how Pittsburgh quarterback situation plays out. I expect Russell Wilson to be back, but we'll see there.
I think so. Yeah, I expect it to be Russ.
Pat Freiermuth was 7 for 60. He did fumble, but
nice little game.
Yeah, he was a reliable piece at the end of the year, especially with Pickens out. He was in some lineups, and he probably helped you out with the tight end position in a position that was hard to find a reliable piece.
Yeah.
Are you worried about Pittsburgh real life wise playoffs? Like, can you see them winning a playoff game?
Not really, but I could see them sneaking out one. I don't think they're going to make like a run, but they're a well coached team.
Yeah, if they end up with the top seed, it'll be them or Los Angeles, the Chargers. They'll get the Texans, and
that's winnable.
We're going to talk about the Texans next. The Texans are playing their worst football.
Yeah, that's definitely a winnable game.
Yeah, I think whoever gets the top wild card, being the Chargers, the Steelers, I do think they'll end up beating Houston. Houston, they lost 31-2 on Wednesday. Merry Christmas, Houston Texans fans. The Ravens whooped up on them. The Ravens improved to 11-5. Texans fall to 9-7. Lamar Jackson, he might have walked his way back into the MVP favorite again. A 168, 2 touchdowns, 87 on the ground, another touchdown. Lamar, he's got to be QB1 going into next year.
Yeah, it's him or Allen. If Buffalo is able to secure a target for Allen, because obviously it wasn't Amari Cooper, and he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So
I don't think Buffalo wants a target. I just
they
think
don't
that's how
need
they
one.
want their offense to be.
And
yeah.
I'm fine with that. It's Josh Allen's proven me wrong. I had him at QB3 going into the offseason, and I think it's him and Lamar, and then I still have Hurts up there as well.
Yeah. And Jaden Daniels is going to find his way into that as well.
As he should.
With Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I probably have Burrow 5.
Yeah. Derrick Henry.
King.
What a way to close out the year for him. 147-1 for King Henry. It was good to see Keaton Mitchell also get some involvement.
For sure.
He was 11 for 20. Not really fantasy relevant, but the receivers, because of just the run game, were of not use. So if you went in with, say, Flowers, or you took the shot on Bateman in championship week, you were disappointed. Flowers was 2 for 31, Bateman 1 for 12. But Mark Andrews, 2 for 68 and a touchdown. He also had a catch of over 40 yards, which was not the touchdown. The touchdown was a 1-yard catch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so 1 for 67 and then 1 for 1.
He's scored now in 5 straight games. He's on quite a run. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah. After the start, but that car accident at the beginning of the year definitely played a part into his lack of production at the beginning of the year, despite Baltimore saying, like, oh, no, he's fine. He ends up finishing tight end 6 on the season in full PPR. So a nice finish there for Mark Andrews, who, over 10 points in full PPR, 6 of the last 7 weeks.
Yeah, I know a lot of people wrote him off after the two goose games and a bad week 1 and not such a great week 2. But ever since Cincinnati week 5, he's been decent enough. Like week 5, he almost got double digits in full point PPR, and he's been pretty consistent since then. So don't shy away from Mark Andrews at all next year. He'll be perfectly fine.
No. Houston though, CJ Stroud, 17 for 31, 185 and an interception. If you got that far with CJ Stroud, kudos to you. I managed to get to a 3rd place game with him, and it's a miracle. If I had any decent player quarterback, I might have had a shot to win the championship. I thankfully had a deep roster, which included Nico Collins, and Nico, though, 3 for 59. The Woos just were all aboard for the Houston, because Joe Mixon also 9 for 26 and 2 for 13 through the air for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, luckily I was able to pivot away from Joe Mixon, and most of the leagues I had him. But yeah, the whole Texans and all of them just looked horrendous out there. They were really trying to get John Mechie involved. Nothing against Mechie, he's fine, but he's not a guy that you should be hyper targeting. He had as many targets as Nico. That's not how you should have done this game. It's a weird situation in Houston. So
yeah, it just feels like they're just going through the motions and easing themselves into the playoffs. They've had the division clinched for a couple weeks.
Yeah, they have.
And for them to improve their seeding was pretty difficult. It just feels like they're just kind of going through it, but definitely not the way you want to go into the playoffs. They're definitely the team amongst the whole NFL that I'm worried about most in the playoffs. I can't see them winning in the first round.
No, they're reminding me a lot of Philly last year, where they're just super streaky. They're not consistent enough. And Philly got bounced last year, the first round versus Tampa. So I expect a wild card team to take out Houston here if they continue playing like this.
Yeah. Thursday night, football didn't get any better.
We can skip this game.
Seattle won 6-3. They beat Chicago. Seattle improves 9-7. Chicago, 10 straight losses. They're 4-12.
4-12.
But no fantasy relevance here. Geno had a fine game, but no touchdowns. Charbonnet looked good. I can't believe they didn't use him more. He was 15 for 57, 3 for 19 through the air. He was on his way in the first half to a great game, and then they just kind of, I don't even know what happened. None of the receivers, DK 3 for 42, JSN 3 for 32. When Noah Fant's your leading receiver, there's a problem. He was 4 for 43.
Yeah, it was a bad game script there for Seattle, but they were lucky to pull out the win. They played a really bad team, so they lucked out. And the Chicago side was no better. It was just Swift had a fine game for full point PPR. He racked in 4 catches. Same with DJ Moore. He had 6 catches on 8 targets. But other than that, everyone was
Yeah.
just a huge disappointment.
Yeah, it was just fine performances.
Yeah, they were okay.
This is more of where do you see these guys next year? Like I know we're going to be high on Jackson Smith and Jigba. There's a good chance we see him better for fantasy, especially full PPR than DK Metcalf.
I've already been on the record on the pod and said I'll definitely have JSN ranked above DK next year.
If I'm Seattle, Kenneth Walker can't stay healthy. I'm trying to figure out a way to utilize both these running backs because it can be done. Like, look what Tampa's doing.
But they don't.
Yeah, I know.
Like, whenever Ken Walker's on the field, Charbonnet literally had 1 carry for negative yards 2 weeks ago. Like, why are we not using both of these guys? Keep them both healthy.
Yeah, I know in the fantasy community, we hate the term running back committee. Like, it scares you away from guys. But, like, look at this season. There was a handful of guys in committees where both guys were relevant. Detroit, Monty and Gibbs. Tampa with Bucky and Rashad White. Even Washington with Eckler and Brian Robinson early on. Both guys were giving you fantasy relevance. And, like, I know it sucks, but, like, I feel like that's where most teams should be going, especially, like, Seattle. Ken Walker can't stay on the field. Yeah. Maybe if you work this into a committee, he stays healthier. He ultimately then becomes better for your offense. And Charbonnet, who's been really good when he's gotten the opportunity, you know, he earns himself a deal elsewhere by being productive for the team. But we'll see what they do there. That's my mindset on Seattle going into next year.
Yeah, I would rather definitely more of a backfield by committee in Seattle. You can't just do the one back and done. Ken Walker's not built for it, and they don't know how to use Charbonnet unless it's just him. So the receivers, though, are really where I'm looking at Seattle next year.
Yeah, and then Chicago.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the offseason. They need a new coach.
Yeah.
So we can't even comment on any of that.
Yeah. I think they're going to be all discounted, though. I think they're going to be all potential values. Keenan Allen's probably not going to be there. Caleb Williams isn't going to be drafted as a QB1. DJ Moore probably isn't drafted in the top 15 at his position. Like I think next year the Bears guys could be of value depending on where they go coach-wise. But if they get like Ben Johnson, I think then they're going to be overvalued and overprojected, and they're not going to be something where I'm going to target.
Yeah, DJ Moore finished around 17 in full point PPR. So if you can get a good steal on DJ Moore, I'd be in for sure.
Saturday football, Chargers whooped up on the Patriots 40-7. The Chargers improved to 10-6. New England falls to 3-13. Justin Herbert, my start of the week, 281, 3 touchdowns. If you started him, chances are you probably won unless you went up against like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Burrow had a crazy week too.
Yeah. I was only going off the guys we've done so far.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins, you said if he was out there, you'd play him. I was on the fence about it. He turned out a good game, 19 for 76 and a touchdown for Dobbins. He secured his backfield back up, so Chargers getting healthy in the backfield going into the playoffs. Ladd McConkey, though, 8 for 94 and 2 touchdowns. Laddie so Daddy.
Yeah. He's going to be drafted extremely high next year. Even if they bring in another weapon, that just opens up the offense for Ladd. He's always open. His separation's crazy. And like you said, J.K. coming back for the playoff run is huge for the Chargers here. Yeah. They get a good run game now, and that's what they were missing. So the Chargers could be a pretty deadly team in the playoffs because they're well coached too. That's what it really comes down to. Like well coached teams make runs.
Harbaugh. Yeah. If they go up against Houston, I think they win, and then they might get Kansas City. I think they'd give Kansas City a fit. Like Kansas City's not going to be in for an easy task if they got to play one of the wild card teams.
Yeah,
but Quentin Johnston
going into like future for the teams, I don't think the Chargers will be like they'll be in the contention next year, but I think the year after that, if all of the progress keeps continuing, they're going to be a legitimate Super Bowl team.
Yeah, they continue. I know they've a weird cap situation as they can work through that, but yeah, the Chargers in the next 2 to 3 years, I think we're looking at a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Quentin Johnston, though, 5 for 48. He finishes out as a he had a much better season than anyone
could have imagined.
Expected. And
Mhm.
I know we can, focus on the drops he had in prime time, and that's fair, but I consider this a win for Quentin Johnston's development and going forward. He finishes as the wide receiver 45 in full PPR, which makes him a fringe flex guy. And I don't think any of us were considering Quentin Johnston as a fringe flex dude going into the season.
Definitely not. His big number here is the 8 touchdowns he brought in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did. He's just a 50-50 ball catcher. So if he's able to bring in these contested, like, deep bomb touchdowns, he's going to have a fine season. Even if, like, the yards and the catches don't add up to it. Because he only had, like, 40 catches for 500 some yards. So it's not like a huge, great season. But he brought in 8 touchdowns. So this is a win for Quentin Johnston.
Yep. That's it for the Chargers offense. New England, who we've talked about their offense here, it's nothing.
It's abysmal.
Pop Douglas.
Legitimately nothing.
Pop Douglas had a nice game. 4 for 46 on a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson, 2 carries. You brought it up about him getting benched, and it happened. 2 carries for 1 yard. And Antonio Gibson is a fine real life game, 12 for 63, but if you start Antonio Gibson, you're in tough sledding to begin with.
You got to use him more in the passing game. Like, he's a converted receiver to running back, so he's very Tyrone Tracy. Like, you can get this guy heavily involved in the catch game. Like, look at his rookie season and the year after. He was a really good fantasy option because he was bringing in a ton of catches in Washington. So I think it's just a coaching thing here in New England, and I don't expect the coaches to change, to be honest. They seem to be rolling with Jared Mayo. So
no, but Drake May, this was one of his worst games.
He got hurt. He was banged up.
He was banged up. He was getting pressured. He shouldn't have taken that sack on 4th down. Like, he made some rookie plays, and we haven't seen a ton of that from Drake May, but it happened here. And 12 for 22, 117 and a touchdown. You get this guy an offensive line, get him some weapons. How do you feel next year about May? Because you got to figure New England's addressing the wide receiver position, whether it be Travis Hunter, whether it be Teteroa McMillan. My preferred method is they just throw $40 million at T. Higgins, and they bring T. Higgins in. If they get Drake May, a legitimate guy like T. Higgins, how do you feel about May as, like, if you stream the QB position, which is what I prefer to do? I rarely draft one of the top 5 guys.
I think he's extremely streamable. He finished QB 22 and he missed week 1 through 5. So he only played 6 to week 17, so he played 11 games. And he finished almost a very streamable auction. He had a good stream run as well, where he finished QB 18 to QB 10 for a 6-game run. So he's super streamable. And like you said, you need to go out and you need to get him a weapon. I do like the T. Higgins thing. And then, because they're going to want to try to get Jalen Polk and Javon Baker involved at some point. I don't know when the hell it's going to be, but they spent a 2nd and a 4th on both these guys last year. So I don't expect them to spend like a 1st on a receiver because that's not what New England does. But I expect them to add a later round receiver, and then you're going to roll in with hopefully a superstar receiver, and then 3 or 4 rookies around. What's his face?
Drake May.
Pop Douglas as well. You keep Pop Douglas as well.
Pop Douglas in the slot.
Yeah.
Baker and Polk rotate on that outside, T. Higgins. And then if I'm New England, currently they hold the 1st pick. I'm trading out of that. Like, falling down a little bit and then drafting one of the better linemen, whether it be Will Campbell, Ariante Ursary, Kelvin Banks. That would be my preferred method, because I don't think any of the linemen warrant the number 1 pick. And I think New England would be doing itself some injustice if they took that at pick 1 when, like, Travis Hunter's on the board, when someone will probably want to trade up and get ahead of whoever drafts 2 and get one of the quarterbacks that they prefer.
That's my thing for New England. I think if you could trade back to 3 and then you let Cam Ward and Shadir go 1-2, and I think you pull the trigger on Travis Hunter at 3.
Hunter? Yeah. Hey, I wouldn't even be opposed to trading back down as well. Like, someone might give you a haul for Travis Hunter, and you can just rack up these picks. Yeah. It'll be an interesting offseason for the Patriots. The other Saturday game in the middle there was the best game probably of the non-Sunday games. Cincinnati, they beat Denver 30-24. Denver falls to 9-7. Cincinnati 8-8. The Bengals are doing everything they need to get into the playoffs. And maybe they should have beat Jacoby Brissett week 1 and this wouldn't be a problem here. But Joe Burrow, he's incredible.
Oh yeah,
412 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the best quarterback on the planet right now. Like, he's so good. Like,
yeah. I think I would still take Lamar and Allen, but Burrow's right there, of course.
Yeah, Joe, he leads the league in touchdowns. He leads the league in passing yards. He's been so good for this team, and they're not doing anything for him. But 4,600 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. That's what he's finished in the fantasy season with. Incredible run there for Joe Burrow. Chase Brown, he got hurt this game, but he again, a nice game, 20 for 67, 4 for 24. He didn't get into the end zone, which he's been doing a lot of, but Chase Brown, you got to be excited for him going into next year, especially if Cincinnati doesn't pull the trigger on a running back early or bring another one back in free agency. Because if they go back in with Chase Brown and Zach Moss again, you should be looking at Chase Brown in the top 3 rounds of your fantasy draft next year.
I don't even think it's going to be Zach Moss. Like Khalil Herbert, I think they can bring in some type of lower end backup and it'll be fine, but it should be Chase Brown's backfield come next season. Hopefully.
Yep. And then Jamar Chase, he was fine. 9 for 102, but
nice little game.
T. Higgins, 11 for 131 and 3.
Could be his last home game, dude.
Could be. And Cincinnati, they have cap space. There's zero reason. Like, I get it limits where you're going next year in terms of like getting defensive guys, and eventually this money's going to catch up because they got to pay Jamar Chase too. Yeah. But the Bengals have the luxury where they can afford to pay Higgins, Chase, and Burrow. Whether they do, I don't know. The Bengals owner, notoriously cheap. I do think they end up franchising T. Higgins and try to trade him. I think that's the route they're going to go.
I'm very pro keeping T in Cincinnati.
Oh, they absolutely should. That's definitely the best for T. Higgins.
I think it's been best for the Bengals. It's best for both parties, and then it's also best for the fans. So like, it's just everything's made for him to stay. Him and Burrow are legitimately best friends off the field. It's just meant to be. And then Cincinnati's just a dumb, cheap team, a bad owner. As a Pirates fan, I can heavily relate to cheap, bad owners. So it's a rough situation to be in. They're super cheap millionaires, which is insane. Some billionaires, and they're just so... Oh, we're not going to get into it.
Yeah.
Pay your players.
Yep. And then Mike Gesicki, 12 targets, 10 for 86.
Which is crazy, because him and T. Higgins never have games like this. Like, if one's missing, the other one shows up. Both balled out, and Chase balled out. Chase Brown even had a little good game before he got hurt. Cincinnati's firing at all cylinders right now to get to the playoffs.
If they get into the playoffs,
dangerous.
They're not a team, because they'll play the 2 seed in the AFC, which would be Buffalo. So that'd be fun. Mm-hmm. Buffalo, Cincinnati, and then if Cincinnati would win, they would get Kansas City. That'd be great football. The NFL should rig it, but we'll see. Denver, though, Bo Nix was great. He continues to be really good.
Has been
219, 3 touchdowns. He did have an interception, but Bo Nix going in next year, I think he's going to fall just out, maybe outside the QB1 range, but he's going to be a guy that if you don't go after one of the higher drafted dudes, he's a guy to target there in the later rounds as you try to figure out your position. Jaleel McLaughlin, 10 for 69. It was his backfield.
Kind of.
Estime had 9 carries as well, but 24 yards. But McLaughlin has looked the best here the last couple of weeks, and that's what Denver's been doing, going with the hot hand. But speaking of hot hands, Marvin Mims,
he's been
8 for 103, 2 touchdowns. How you feeling about him going into next year? They spent a high draft capital on him. He was the first draft pick for Sean Payton.
I don't know. It's weird because they also have Troy Franklin, who they're not really using often, but they did spend like a 4th or a 5th on him last year, and I know he has the connection with Bo Nix already. I just don't trust Marvin Mims. I like him. I just don't trust them using him. They kind of used him a little bit here and there last year, and it just didn't pan out to anything. So I need to see more of Denver using him.
I will be much higher on Marvin Mims than Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin does not even come into consideration into cutting into Marvin Mims for me going into next year. I think Marvin Mims is going to be a nice late round guy. I think he'll be a fringe flex dude going into the season. At least that's how I view him. Cortland Sutton, 5 for 55 and a touchdown. What a year for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he finished
with a rookie quarterback. He finished top 15. So good season.
No one would have expected that from him. Yeah, absolutely. Cortland Sutton with a great connection with Bo Nix. That's it for Denver. They don't got a tight end. Would love to see them bring in a tight end. Like Tyler Warren could play that Taysom Hill style for Sean Payton, but Colston Loveland, the other tight end, projected round 1. He's a big body, converted receivers type player like Jimmy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
So like those are both tight ends that we saw see fantasy production with Sean Payton. I would love one of them to end up in Denver.
I would rather them get a Jimmy Graham type guy. I remember the Jimmy Graham runs for fantasy, dude. Like, I get Taysom Hill had his weeks. Jimmy Graham did that every week. He was amazing for a good stretch of time. And he wasn't like a gadgety player. He was just out there better than everybody else. Jimmy Graham, he had such a crazy fantasy run and even real life run. I'm pretty sure he's still playing. Like, he had like a touchdown this year or last year, which is insane.
It was last year. I don't think he's played this year.
That's a shame. You'd love to see it, but that would be my preferred option for tight end for Denver. I think it would also help Bo Nix a lot.
I agree. And coming up here shortly next week or the week after, we'll be doing our first mock draft. So we'll see. Maybe we do mock a tight end to Denver. Rounding out the Saturday slate, Arizona falls to the Rams 13-9. Rams 10-6, Arizona 7-9. Kyler Murray, he was fine. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 321 yards through the air, and 32 on the ground. James Conner played and didn't last long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it almost seemed like they were putting him out there so he would get the chance to play every game.
Yeah.
4 carries, 4 yards, 2 for 4 for James Conner. So
he did get hurt a little.
Put him in.
You could see them working out his hamstrings on the sideline throughout the game, and he kept his pads and helmet on. Like, he was trying to get back in there, so it seemed. And I'm not going to doubt James Conner's toughness. He's a dog, dude. So I'm just happy he was out there for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure part of him was just like, I want to finish the season. I want to prove that I could be a durable back. He finishes as an RB1 in full PPR. He finished at RB11. Incredible season for James Conner. He had such a great run going into the playoffs. In the playoffs, like, there's a good chance he got you to a championship, and then if you had to pivot away from him, hopefully you were able to do that. Marvin Harrison, a nice game, 6 for 96. His first real good game without a touchdown. So good to see that things come together. Hopefully for him, he's an incredible prospect. I imagine next year he'll be fine. Going to be overdrafted again.
He will be, but I don't know. I think he has. I'll be way higher personally on Marv than I was last year or this year. I wasn't incredibly high on Marv. He was a rookie going into a situation that I didn't think it was great, obviously, but I didn't think it was fantasy great, particularly as well as everyone thought it to be. So, but I'll be pretty high on Marv next year.
Yeah. So where do you think, just early projection, will he fall in between Neighbors and Thomas? Is he going to be below both those guys, above both those guys?
I would personally take Malik and Thomas over him, but
I agree.
I don't know if the fantasy world is going to fully commit to Thomas like you should.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think ultimately, early projections from experts, he's going to separate them. I think Neighbors will be the highest rated one, especially if you guys bring in a quarterback. And then it'll be Marv. And then I think Brian Thomas will fall third there. But Trey McBride, it finally happened. He got his touchdown. Championship week, 16 targets, 12 catches for 123 yards. I can't speak highly enough about how great Trey McBride is at football.
He had an amazing season, dude. He's such a good player. Over 1,000 yards first time in his career, 100 catches. So it was a great season, dude. Yeah. Speaking of 1,000 yards, it was the first time James Conner's going back to back with 1,000 yards. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. The Rams, Kyron Williams found the end zone, 56 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 for 16 through the air. Your start of the week. A nice little game for him. Puka Nacua. He might be drafted top 5 next year. 14 targets, 10 catches, 129 yards. And Cooper Kupp, again, irrelevant.
Yep.
One catch for 29 yards. Puka Nakua's become the Cooper Kupp of the offense now. Like, who's to even say Cooper Kupp's there next year? I know they toyed with trading him this season, but then they got hot. Maybe they look at doing that again in the offseason. We'll see,
Like,
but Puka Nakua to me going into next year, he's gonna be a top 5 pick.
It'll be very close, but yeah, he'll be up there with receivers for sure. It's just the last 3 games for Cooper Kupp are so weird. Like, his whole season is fine. And I'm very interested when we do our offseason recaps and whatnot. Like, his points per game are going to drastically change just based off the last 3 games of the year. Like, he had a really good fantasy season, the games he was healthy and out there. And then the last 3 games, he just completely fell off the face of the earth. It's so weird, dude.
Yeah, he finishes with 14.6 points per game in full PPR. Maybe age caught up with him. Who knows? Maybe he's just been hiding an injury. I don't know. But it is really strange. He finishes wide receiver 36.
Mm-hmm.
Piggied in between Wan'Dale Robinson and DK Metcalf.
Yeah, but he missed a ton of games. Like, he missed 4 games.
He did miss time, yeah.
He missed 4 games, and the last 3 games have been horrendous. So that's essentially 7 games he just didn't play. And he still finished the top 36 receiver.
Yeah, like his points per game was 14.6, and DK was one spot above him. He was 12.6. Wan'Dale was 10.5.
Yeah, he just missed a bunch of games. Like, the games he was out there, he was fine, but the last 3 games are just a completely different Cooper Kupp. It's like a Cooper Kupp we've never seen, to be honest. Like, even when he was early on rookie stuff, he still had the potential. He just couldn't stay healthy. And now he's just been very good when he's out there. And then the last 3 games, he's just not being involved.
Yeah, and he was considered a value.
Puka's great.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp was considered a value going into this past season in drafts. So we'll see where he kind of falls in going into this offseason in like redraft situations. But I'll probably have him maybe in my top 20, but that might be pushing it.
I will not. And that's coming from a huge Cooper Kupp supporter.
Yeah, I think that's his ceiling, though. Like, I think like the ceiling ranking for me will be in like 20.
Yeah, that'll be pushing it. There's a lot of good receivers.
Yeah. We'll have to see there. Before we move into the Sunday slate, let's give out a shout out to our friends at Cafe Colazzo. They're based right out of here in Philadelphia, which isn't too far away from us. But it's 2 content creators who are making coffee. Like, we're just 2 content creators ourselves, and you know that's what they were. They started up this coffee business. They sponsor out other content creators, so we appreciate the offer there. But check them out if you're a coffee drinker. I love coffee. I can't start my day without a nice cup of Joe. It gets me through the day. They got 3 roasts out right now: a light, a medium, and a dark. Check them out. Use the code DRAFTEDUP at checkout for a 10% discount. You'll be supporting 2 other content creators, and you'll be supporting the podcast as well. So check them out. Like I said, the light roast is incredible. I'm not a big light roast guy, but I loved it. Medium roast is really good. Once I finish that up, I'm going to dive into that dark roast, which I'm really excited for because that's how I prefer my coffee. Cafe Colazzo, that's Collazo. Check them out. Use code DRAFTEDUP for a 10% discount at checkout. And if you don't like coffee, eat their beans like Nick does. Because they're a coffee beans. Their powder sucks in their eyes. And I agree. You grind up a fresh pot of coffee with some grinded up beans that you do yourself. It makes you feel better. Sunday, first game. Jets beat the Bills 40-14, 13-3.
No, the Bills beat the Jets.
Bills. Yeah, did I say the Jets beat the Bills?
The Jets did not beat the Bills.
I'm sorry. The Jets are listed first on the thing. That's why the Bills did win 40-14. The Bills improved to 13-3. Jets fall to 4-12. Aaron Rodgers got old. He was bad. 12 for 18,
I think
112, 2 interceptions.
I think before this game, there was a legitimate chance Rodgers was the Jets quarterback next season. I don't think there is now. I just don't think there's an option after this horrendous shit show. I don't see how you can trot him back out there for another season for Jets fans. That's like a crime.
Do you think he's going to be the quarterback this week? He's 1 touchdown away from 500.
No, he's playing. He's getting that 500 touchdown. Okay. He will play for sure. 100%.
Tyrod Taylor looked good. It wouldn't surprise me. Like, maybe the Jets draft Jalen Milroe, trade back into the first round, or maybe he falls into the second if he comes out. He looked bad today against Michigan, so
There's a chance
might
he
be
stays.
second round pick if he comes out, and maybe they draft him, pair him with Tyrod, similar style players. But Tyrod looked good, 11 for 14. I know it was all garbage time at 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, if they do move on from Rodgers, it wouldn't surprise me if they just stick with Tyrod next year instead of paying Justin Fields or, well, they're not going to bring Sam Darnold in.
Oh my God! Can you imagine the contract they would have to give him to get him to return to fucking New York? Like, you want to make a deal with the devil, Darnold? Don't do it though. My God, do not go back there.
0% chance that happens.
Hopefully.
Garrett Wilson had a nice game, 7 for 66. He did score a touchdown. Devontae Adams, dud, 5 for 47. Tyler Conklin was the benefactor of all this. And if you started Tyler Conklin, good for you. 8 for 57 and a tutty.
If you started
the run
Conklin in a championship, man, you had balls of steel. I salute you.
Hey, maybe you had Njoku, and he was a scratch. We found that out on Thursday or Friday, and the market's thin.
Yeah, right. Chig was out there, dude. Chig was not owned in a bunch of percentage leagues, which is crazy.
Well, maybe some people just were done wrong by Chigakonkwo in the past.
Oh well,
and,
that's a possibility for sure.
It's definitely not a mindset you want to go having in that a guy burned you in the past, and you're just like, I'm not picking him up. But we all do it. It's just natural.
I don't want to
instinct.
offend anyone, but that's a really common thing for the average fantasy football player. They just try to roll hot hands, which is a very risky thing to do with receivers and tight ends because they're not consistent at all throughout the season. So if a guy burns you, you can't really look at that as I get that, but receivers are here and there every other week, so you can't play the hot hand when it comes to that.
Yeah. How do you view Breece Hall going into next year? 10 for 45 this past week.
Oh, Breece Hall.
Okay, it doesn't worry you, his performance. I don't think he's going to be a first round pick. I think he's going to fall.
No, I think it'll be a second round pick though. I think it'll be pretty high. I think he's still going to be close to an RB1.
Yeah, he finished his RB16 this year, so we'll see. Him or Bucky Irving going into next year.
Wow.
Don't disrespect the podcast.
I would take Breece Hall.
Okay.
I think Breece Hall he doesn't have a backfield with Rachaad White. And I think Breece Hall, I'm not trying to sway away from what I thought Breece Hall was this season. I thought I had him ranked higher than Bijan. So I guess it didn't pan out that way, but Breece Hall was still an elite running back in football. So the talent's still there. The Jets suck, dude. The Jets just suck.
I think I'll just be biased and have Bucky over him.
I get it. I get it.
I picked Bucky Irving because Bucky Irving was running back 15, so that's why.
I get it.
Buffalo, Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns through the air, 1 touchdown on the ground, 182 yards. It's him and Lamar for MVP unless somehow Burrow makes it into the playoffs.
Shut your mouth.
Hey, dude, it's a quarterback award. It's going to one of those guys.
Yeah, when Barkley goes off for 175 and shatters the rushing record.
Yeah, okay, if he does that, then maybe he kind of boosts his way in because we're probably not going to see Lamar this week, and we probably don't see much of Josh Allen.
I don't see how there's not a realm of possibility that Barkley does not break the rushing record. You've seen when he went over 2,000 yards, the linemen were all hyped, the coaching staff were hyped, the defensive players were, everyone on that team was hyped for Barkley. I don't see a possibility that they don't try to let him do this. I don't think he's going to be out there all 4 quarters, but I think he has up until halftime. And I think and he's going to break it versus the Giants. It's literally meant to play out this way. It's a Cinderella story. This is what Disney writes movies about. And I think Barkley's going to go out there and break the rushing record next week. So he's my MVP. I'll stand on that boat. He's been my MVP all season. The Eagles are a completely different team this year, and it's because of Barkley.
No, I get it, but I look at it more like Derrick Henry had over 2,000 yards, and he didn't get a single MVP vote. And Tennessee was 11-5,
and that's dumb.
So
literally, only 8 other people in the history of the NFL have gone over 2,000 yards, and Barkley has a chance to break the record. If a quarterback goes out there and breaks records, they are the MVP.
No, I agree.
Barkley's doing this with the number 2 seed in football. I just, Barkley's my MVP. I'll die on this hill all season.
Football's dumb.
I don't know if it's me being biased because I still love Barkley. I don't care if he switched teams. We didn't want him. It is what it is. I can respect the decision that was made. Barkley has been the best player in football this year. And it's not just fantasy football. It's real life football.
Yeah, but it's a quarterback-driven league. So I'm just looking at it from a realistic approach.
It's dumb.
Yeah. Joe Burrow would be my MVP if I had a vote, just because
reasonable. He's kept that team afloat. A horrendous team he's kept afloat.
I'm not sure Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen get through that situation like Joe Burrow has.
I think Allen can. Nothing against Lamar. Allen has proven this year me wrong. He's had no receivers, no options. I love James Cook, but he's turned James Cook as well into an elite running back. Like
James Cook, yeah.
Josh Allen, like the offense throws through Josh Allen and will forever flow through Josh Allen. He's the best quarterback in football in my eyes.
Yeah, James Cook, another touchdown on the ground.
What's he having here? 15? 16?
Let me look. He finished as RB9, which is kind of crazy considering he has like 16 touchdowns.
He has 15 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns. 17 total touchdowns from James Cook this year.
Yeah, and only an RB9 finish in full PPR.
It's because he didn't break 1,000 yards yet. He has a chance to do it next week, but I don't know if he's going to be out there.
Yeah, Buffalo probably not going to play their starters.
Probably not.
A hell of a year from James Cook. You see him as a first-round guy next year, or you think he's a second-round pick?
No, because I would still take Breece Hall over.
Okay, I would take James Cook over Breece Hall.
I think the higher upside, like, I don't think James Cook can get 70 touchdowns again. And he had under 1,000 yards. Okay. That's just very concerning.
That's tough to repeat 17 touchdowns. Yeah. Speaking of touchdowns, your boy Amari Cooper scored one. 3 for 56 and a touchdown.
A beautiful touchdown, too. Thanks for showing up, Coop.
Keon Coleman, also an incredible touchdown. 3 for 27 and a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid, 2 for 24. Khalil Shakir, 3 for 25. They weren't really of relevance. The Buffalo's offense going into next year is going to be a tricky one to kind of figure out. And it was this year, too. Like, we was trying to figure out where the receivers were going to be. And some of the year was Khalil Shakir. We saw some shines from Keon Coleman. There was that 1 week where it was Amari Cooper.
I think Shakir, if it's obviously not going to be the same. We can't really predict it. But Cooper's probably not going to be there. So they're going to replace him with somebody. But I think Keon Coleman and Shakir have real upside in fantasy next year. Even Dalton Kincaid. I think all 3 of those guys have really high ceilings in fantasy next season.
Oh, Dalton Kincaid's probably going to be a value going into next year.
I think all 3 of those guys, I think Keon Coleman has the chance to be the highest drafted one out of all 3 of those guys, and he's probably the worst out of all 3, to be honest. Like, not talent-wise. I love Keon Coleman. But fantasy-wise, Shakir's definitely one.
It's predicting the boom. That's what you're trying to do with
a rookie. Coleman. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Jacksonville and Tennessee, 20-13. Jags win, 4-12. Tennessee now 3-13. Brian Thomas Jr.
Dog.
My guy. My dude. 7 for 91 and a touchdown. Hey, he leads rookies in receiving yards. He leads rookies in touchdowns. He's been incredible for Jacksonville, and I hope this continues over. Like, I know your biggest fear with Brian Thomas was like, let's see him do it. You were like, yeah, he'll do it his rookie year. Let's see him do it again. But 80 for almost 1,200, 10 touchdowns.
This isn't what I expected him to do his rookie year. He's legit. Like, it's not a question on if he's gonna be fine. This might be the best season he ever has, but that's nothing to spite him. Like, he had an amazing season. He finished wide receiver 4 in fantasy football. Big wide receiver 4 in a full point PPR. He's a huge touchdown upside guy, but I think he's going to have amazing seasons to come.
Yeah, and he did. His back end's been done with Mac Jones.
Exactly. So I would love to see a full season with Trevor, dude.
Yeah, he might be proving himself as QB proof.
Oh, 100%. He's that kind of upside, big play kind of guy. His touchdowns are all there, dude, and he's doing it without a good QB. So
yeah, and no running game. The ETN 15 for 49, 10 Bixby, 11 for 33. Is ETN bad?
No. ETN though is up for disappointment of the fantasy season for sure. Whenever we get there, ETN's had a horrendous season. He was drafted back into the first, early second, very high running back, and he's finished top 30, 38. So good God, what a shit show.
He was going in the range with like Kyron Williams and
yeah. And Johnny Taylor. He was right there with those guys. Barkley. Like Barkley was going back into the first, early second. Like, what are we doing here? ETN just shit the bed, dude.
Yeah, Tennessee, Tyjae Spears, 20 for 95. He's had a strong finish to the year. Calvin Ridley, 5 for 84. He was okay. Chigakonkwo, 5 for 42. He also had a 17-yard run. Any of these guys, you're excited? You think Chig puts it together for a full season next year if they get themselves a good quarterback? No.
No. Good God, no. If I had to, I of course like Calvin Ridley. I think he's going to be a fine receiver. I don't think he has a high ceiling like Brian Thomas does, but I think he's a really good wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3.
Yeah, he's got wide receiver 2 ceiling. Yeah. Vegas and New Orleans. Vegas wins 25-10. I was wrong. New Orleans lost. They fall to 5-11. Vegas is now 4-12. Aiden O'Connell, nice little game, 244-2. Amir Abdullah.
But you weren't wrong. See, I'll give you. We were different. I got the game right. You got the running back right. So we split it.
Yeah. Amir Abdullah, 20 carries for 115 yards.
Big dog shit this week, dude.
Yeah, go off Amir Abdullah. What a run for him to end the season. Like he might have been the nastiest boy to win titles, but 19, 19, 17, and then there's a 17-week, 2 weeks before that.
Yeah, the fantasy playoffs, he finished running back 7, running back 15, running back 7. That's a crazy stretch for the fantasy playoffs. So if you played him, good for you, because you got a big upside there. So
yeah,
I was wrong on that
Jacoby Myers also nice game, 5 for 61 and a touchdown. And Brock Bowers, 7 for 77.
He's done all his career. He's just been 900 yards. He's not a touchdown guy, but he finished with almost 80 catches, 900 yards. Jacoby Myers is he's a good football player.
And he's probably going to go like round 12 of your redraft leagues, and that's 100%. a good value floor guy. Like you can lock him in your flex spot, and you're okay with that.
Yeah, he's a guy you can ride on your bench and then throw him in your lineup when you need him to. He's a reliable guy. He's something you need on teams.
And then New Orleans, nothing to really talk about there.
Did you skip Brock
no Alvin
Bowers?
Kamara. No, I said Brock Bowers, 7 for 77. You went into Jacoby Myers.
He set the rookie record for receptions. He broke Puka's record.
Yep, and he broke the tight end rookie receiving record, which has been a record with Mike Ditka. That's how old that record is.
But
Brock Bowers.
Malik Neighbors is right on his tail, though, for those catches. He's got like 105, so there's a chance Malik passes him this week.
Yeah. Well, they'll both be out there, so we'll see how that goes. But Brock Bowers, you might be looking at a guy drafted the back end of the first round.
Yep.
Yeah. And New Orleans, nothing to talk about.
I don't think I'd have the balls of steel to take him in the first, but I bet you there's teams out there that take Brock in the back end of the first, dude.
Like I think his best spot is the swing, but like if I'm picking 10 or 11 in a 12-team league, I might bite the bullet just so I can guarantee him and then
guarantee it and then work out from there.
Yeah, if there's like 6 or 7 wide receivers or running backs that I like, I might go Bowers if I draft 10, 11, or 12. Because then one of those guys is probably getting back to me, and then I got Brock Bowers, though.
Well, you got to draft in like tiers, so those 6 receivers are going to probably all be in the same tier or very close. Brock Bowers is in a tier of his own, though, in tight end. So there's no one that can touch him come next season. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh, I agree. Trey McBride is in a tier of his own as well, though, of a top 2 tight end.
Yeah. New Orleans, no Alvin Kamara, no Chris Olave, no Derek Carr. The tight ends put up nice games, but Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson, they're not worth talking about. Any excitement going in next year for New Orleans? Chris Olave being back.
Sure.
They fall into a range where maybe they can get Tedero and McMillan. I think a big-bodied guy with Chris Olave would be nice. Hey, they're probably stuck with Derek Carr next year, but
I'm fine with that for a fantasy purpose. Like Kamara, I'll be fine with. Olave, I'll be fine with. Rashid Shaheed, probably, to be honest. He was having a crazy season with Derek Carr. So I'll be very interested to see where those guys get drafted because I think Chris Olave is going to be underappreciated in the fantasy season. He was going second round this year. I don't think he goes second round next year.
No.
And Kamara was extremely underrated this year, so I'm very excited to see if we actually give him his flowers this season. Because Kamara should probably be like a top 2, top 3 round pick.
Well, we probably won't because he'll be another year older and he's injured again. So you might get him in the 4th round. Giants, your New York Football Giants, they won. They beat Indianapolis 45-33. Giants improved to 3-13, and now they're drafting 3rd. Colts fall to 7-9. The Joe Flacco led Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson did not play. News came out about that after we recorded Thursday, so we mostly talked about the game as if Anthony Richardson was playing. And
I brought up that he wasn't practicing.
Did you?
But yeah, I brought up that he wasn't practicing, but there was a chance he didn't play.
Yeah. Joe Flacco, 330, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also fumbled, so 3 turnovers. Flacco has not had that magic for the most part that he had last year with Cleveland. Jonathan Taylor.
Another great game.
What a superstar. 125 and 2 for him. Alec Pierce, everyone's favorite target in Indianapolis. 6 for 122 and a touchdown. Michael Pittman, 9 for 109 and a touchdown. Josh Downs, who's been the safest one of the bunch, 3 for 22.
Yeah, super weird game here for Indy. Yeah, it's unbelievable how this game turned out.
So how are you feeling about the Colts going into next year?
I like Jonathan Taylor. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, you're not going to touch any of the receivers?
Not with Richardson there. No, that's not worth my time. There's too many of them to go around, but not enough passes.
Yeah. There's the problem. Like it's a talented room. AD Mitchell, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs.
Yeah,
you would love to have that receiving room.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anthony Richardson is a guy you don't want throwing the ball 30 times. You barely want him throwing 20 times.
Oh, I don't want. I have his cap at honest God 14 passes a game. I don't want him to pass more than 14 because he's going to complete 7 of them. So I'm just not in on any Colts weapon besides JT.
Drew Lock,
5 tutties, unbelievable.
5 touchdowns, 309 and 4 through the air. He had a rushing touchdown.
It's not like the Colts were the number 1 started defense in fantasy championships this week or anything. So I don't understand, Drew Lock. Why would you come out here and do this to me? Get my defense negative points.
Yeah, chances
unbelievable.
You didn't start Drew Lock. I wish I did. I had Drew Lock in a very deep dynasty league where I started Mason Rudolph and Mac Jones in a super flex. If I won, so it didn't matter.
Don't matter.
Tyrone Tracy. Yeah, 20 for 59, 2 grabs for 14 yards. A nice rookie season for him. You look at him as a win. And then, Malik Neighbors, 7 for 171 and 2.
Huge game.
An absolute machine out there for the Giants.
Yeah, he's just unbelievable. He's breaking away catches, like screen passes, taking them to the house. It's stuff you haven't seen in the Giants offense since Odell. Like some of the passing numbers that happened on Sunday, we haven't had those numbers since 2019. So that's Danny Jones like rookie year Eli kind of numbers. So we need playmakers.
Put up this amount of points since like 2022 when they played the Colts.
That is true. Yeah. Just keep playing the Colts.
Everyone got touchdowns. Malik Neighbors going into next year. I think we could be looking at him in the first round.
Depending on what quarterback or what the situation is, I think the lowest he goes is the second round for sure.
Yeah. Wandale scored 5 for 71 touchdown. Darius Slayton scored. You would think with all these passing yards, Jalen Hyatt would have saw something. He didn't. So RIP to my hopes that Jalen Hyatt ever becomes anything.
Not with Slayton there, dude. Like we like Slayton too much. And he's just reliable. Like Slayton's just a good ball player. I would assume he finished with what he usually does every year. A little less this year. He's probably going to break 600 yards, but his touchdowns are on the lower end, too.
Yeah. 573, 2 touchdowns, 39 catches for Darius Slayton. The Eagles beat Dallas 41-7. I was a week off on the blowout. Eagles would go to 13-3. Dallas falls to 7-9. But hey, if there was like 3 or 4 things that changed, this was a competitive football game.
If you take all if you don't look at the scoreboard and you take away 5 big plays for the Eagles, well, huge difference. Shut the hell up, Michael Parsons. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard somebody say.
Yeah.
You know, if my
Kenny
fantasy
Pickett.
opponent didn't
Yeah.
score or start any players this
Yeah.
week, I would have won.
Yeah,
So,
if he would have played James Conner, I would have been okay.
yeah.
Kenny Pickett had that amazing throw.
Oh my god, dude! He just like spiked the ground and the ball into the ground. What the hell, Kenny Pickett?
It was incredible.
I seen
he
I seen a reel. It was like making fun of Kenny Pickett. It was like hype up music, and then it was just that play where he spiked the ball into the ground, dude. Oh my god. Kenny Pickett,
143
baby hands.
Yeah, he had 143 and a touchdown. He also had a rushing touchdown before leaving the game injured. And then shout out Canada, our buddy Merck. His guy, Tanner McKee, got into the game. 3 for 54 and 2 touchdowns. No big deal.
Yeah, 3 completions, 2 tutties. Oh, light work.
If I'm the Eagles, I'm just rolling Tanner McKee out next week. Not risking Kenny Pickett getting hurt or Jalen Hurts.
You can't. Yeah, you start Kenny or Tanner McKee.
Tanner.
For sure. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Because
Saquon
Barkley's the
Barkley-
really focus point next week.
Yep. Yeah, 167 on 31 carries, 2 touchdowns. He is 101 yards away from breaking the Eric Dickerson rushing record.
Yep.
So even if the Eagles rest starters, I imagine he's going to be out there, and they'll limit it. We'll see how he is going in the. I imagine they're going to give him the first quarter and the second quarter, and then at halftime, if he's close, they bring him back. But say he's only got like 30 yards, I don't think we see him back out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty much at halftime, so the decision's going to be made. Giants don't have Dexter Lawrence, so we can't really focus on stacking the box. So the opportunity is going to be there for Barkley to just run it down our throats.
Yeah, Devontae Smith.
Great
My
game.
apologies. 6 for 120 and 2.
With trash quarterbacks. So
But hey, Dallas Goedert wasn't out there, so that's when
true.
he really
That's true.
blows up. But AJ Brown was still out there. He was only 3 for 36 and a touchdown.
Smith has 4 touchdowns in the last 4 games. Doesn't have one every game, but he has 4 in the last 4. So good back into the season for
And
Smith.
Dallas, Rico Dowdle, 100 yards on the Eagles,
Impressive.
23 carries. They released Ezekiel Elliott today, so
It's pretty impressive. He
Congratulations,
had
Rico
100
Dowdle.
yards on the Eagles, nonetheless, and in a blowout. It was 41-7, and Dallas was still just out here. We're just going to run the ball. It's the only thing we could do today. Cooper Rush doesn't have it. The receivers aren't there. No CD Lamb.
yeah.
So we're just going
Cooper
to
Rush.
give the ball
Cooper
to
Rush could just
Rico.
not play Philadelphia.
Oh,
Against
yeah,
anybody else, he's a competent quarterback, but his 2 games versus the Eagles have not been good for him.
Horrendous.
But hey,
But
Rico
it doesn't-
Dowdle.
It doesn't help. He doesn't have CD out there.
Yeah, Rico Dowdle broke 1,000 yards.
Did he?
Yep.
Nice.
1,007. Only 1 rushing touchdown all the year. 3 receiving, but touchdown numbers. Hey, like Dallas, they're at a range where they could draft Ash and JT, but I think they might. I don't know if they do.
They got
We'll
a
see
lot of
what they do with
needs,
Rico.
brother.
Yeah, they do. Like, we'll see. I would roll with Rico going into next year.
I'm a big proponent in elite running back should be on elite teams. Look at Barkley and the Giants. It's not we wasted his career. He had great seasons, but when you put elite running backs on elite teams, it's completely different. Derrick Henry in Baltimore, this night and day. Josh Jacobs in Green Bay this year.
Okay.
So Dallas can't be out here drafting running backs. You got way too many needs. Just roll with Rico. He's fine. And then worry about running back when you don't have all these needs.
Yep. The Dallas receiving game without CD Lamb, ineffective. Jalen Tolbert, 3 for 30, a touchdown. Your boy Brandon Cooks, 4 for 52. Nice little game.
He's fine.
Jake Ferguson, my start of the week, had 3 catches on 5 targets for 18 yards and a fumble.
Yeah.
So
rough.
a rough go for Jake Ferguson.
Yeah, it happens.
Tampa Bay, they beat up on Carolina 48-14. Carolina falls to 4-12. Tampa 9-7. Baker Mayfield 5 touchdowns, 359. Excellent game for Baker. My start of the week, Bucky Irving, 20 for 113, 4 catches for 77 yards. Rashad White wasn't really involved, 6 for 30. For him, your start, or Mike Evans wasn't your start of the week. I just always want to give you Mike Evans.
You really
That's your
do.
start of the week.
You just constantly think I pick Mike Evans.
But hey, he was 8 for 97.
I love
and
Mike Evans.
2
He's one of my favorite
touchdowns.
players, so I get it.
And then Jalen McMillan, the run continues, 5 for 51 and 2 touchdowns. Jalen McMillan, he's going to be a name to monitor going into next year with this end run here, especially if Chris Godwin's not there next season. Jalen McMillan, and then Bucks, they're going to put their players out there. They're playing for the division next week. Mike Evans needs 85 yards.
He's got it
to continue the streak. Yeah,
he's got it.
Baker will throw 40 passes to him if he has to.
Yeah, Mike Evans over 80 yards should be a for sure place bet in every. Just go put it in every parlay you have. Go straight bet it. Mike Evans over 80. Lock it in. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and then still no Cade Otton, and they got a touchdown to the tight end.
Yep.
Carolina, no Chuba Hubbard. He went on IR.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think we talked about that. I believe that happened after.
That happened after. It did.
Bryce Young, looking at the score, you would think Bryce Young had a terrible game, but he was okay. 203, 2 touchdowns. He should be their quarterback next year. They shouldn't even be thinking about going elsewhere.
Yeah,
Adam
100%.
Thielen, 5 for 110, 2 touchdowns.
He finished healthy, dude.
Yeah, what a great stretch run there for Thielen. Xavier Legette had 9 targets, didn't amount to much, 5 for 28. Jalen Coker, you won the Brandon Cooks Jalen Coker thing. He was 2 for 35.
Yeah, both guys. Nothing really to brag home about. So.
Yeah. Speaking of nothing to really talk about, Miami beat Cleveland 20-3. Miami improves to 8-8 there, in playoff contention as well. If Denver loses this week to Kansas City and Miami wins, Miami gets in over the Bengals. So Dolphins got something to play for. Tyler Huntley played Tua late. Decision not to play him. That came out on like Saturday. Or Friday.
Yeah.
Tyler Huntley, nice game. 225 touchdown. He had 52 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown. It looked like, Mike McDaniel finally figured out how to utilize a backup quarterback, but it was against Cleveland. So that's the best time to toy with changing things.
That is
the Browns are bad. Spoiler alert, when we record Thursday and we preview Week 18, the Browns currently sit as an 18-point underdog against the Baltimore Ravens.
Dude, that's crazy. What a crazy spread. But it's because you had DTJ or DT. What the fuck is that guy's name?
DTR.
Like, you're like, you're tanking. Like, I get you're not physically actually tanking. Like, you have Winston, you're tanking. He's just a healthy scratch every week. I get it. Don't win, but that's just a hard situation to put the guys into.
Yep. Jalen Waddle also didn't play, but Tyreek Hill, if you stayed with him, I know in a league I had him, I benched him after I heard Tua wasn't playing. I had Jaden Reed was an option, so I took the shot on him.
Oof.
Tyreek Hill, though, 9 for 105.
Yeah. He looked good. He looked great, to be honest.
Jonnu Smith, 3 for 26. He did score. Achan, 25 yards,
Complete
2 for 13. A
rough
game, especially if you had him championship week.
He got a lot of people there, for sure. Like, he was been great in the back end. It's not this week. It happens.
And then Cleveland, the only thing to really talk about is Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy finished
18
strong.
targets. 18 targets, 12 for 94.
I'm glad DTR heard all of the criticism that you literally are ruining Jerry Jeudy's season. He's like, you think I'm ruining Jerry Jeudy's season? Here's a Christmas gift. 18 targets. And it's going to amount to under 100 yards, by the way. But
did you see how many times DTR threw the ball?
No.
What?
47.
47 times.
Holy God. That's not what you want.
47 attempts, and he only had 170 yards.
Yeah, he's dog shit. If you have Jameis Winston out there with 47 attempts, he might have 5 picks, but he's got 400 yards, dude. For sure.
Yep. Minnesota, Green Bay.
Dude.
Vikings win 27-25. Vikings improved to 14-2.
4-2.
Packers fall to 11-5. And those 5 losses are 2 to Detroit, 2 to Minnesota, 1 to Philadelphia.
Yeah. Literally the top 3 teams above them in the NFC. So,
yeah,
I get it. It's hard.
So, Green Bay, they're going to have the second wild card. That's pretty much a lock for them. So, they'll be looking at going to LA or Tampa or Atlanta, depending on how things finish out there. Sam Darnold. He
Big
keeps
dog
making
on
more and more
campus,
money
dude.
every week.
Yes, he does.
377 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. He's been incredible this year.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone's seen the locker room video too of the team celebrating with him. It's the Barkley effect. Like you see how much the team and the coaches love this guy. There's no way you guys let him hit the market. It's just not going to happen at this point.
No, I expect him to be the Vikings quarterback next year.
I agree. This is what people look for in the draft. A quarterback that can give you a chance to make it deep in the playoffs. And you guys have it with Sam Darnold. I get you drafted J.J. McCarthy to be that guy. It's going to be hard to give the ball to J.J. when Darnold's out here.
Yeah.
Possibly giving you a bye week, a playoff run. Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen. It's hard. It's a tough decision, dude.
Yeah. The J.J. McCarthy, we weren't as high on him as pundits. I was much higher on him than you were. Mm-hmm. But this was the situation for him. Like, if you had to pick a team for J.J. McCarthy to go to, it was Minnesota because of Kevin O'Connell. And now look what Kevin O'Connell's doing with Sam Darnold.
Exactly.
He's turned, and we'll see. And with a weak quarterback draft class, I've brought this up in the past, that maybe the Vikings do move on from J.J. McCarthy. Maybe, teams, I know a lot of teams from what I've read, like they value McCarthy more than they did Shador or Cam Ward this year.
Yep.
That maybe one of these teams, instead of drafting that guy, they work out a trade with Minnesota for J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, they're not going to give up a top 5 pick for McCarthy. McCarthy was drafted 11. Mm-hmm. So like it'll be something that works out. Maybe that's the route that ends up happening. Minnesota signs Sam Darnold. They trade J.J. McCarthy. We'll see. But I think they franchise Darnold. I think Darnold plays next year, and then they figure it out from there.
Yeah, I agree.
If they franchise him and Darnold's bad,
cool. You have JJ.
You have JJ McCarthy.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't give Sam Darnold $180 million that the Giants hand out to Danny Jones. So,
no.
But get this guy on your roster next year. Lock him up a 1-year deal because he's proven that this is what teams look for in the draft, and you found it in Sam Darnold. So,
yeah, imagine if a team was patient enough to stick with him.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. Those teams are so poorly coached, dude, or like the ownership. Yeah. The Jets are trash. The Panthers are trash from top to bottom. Those organizations are horrendous. So I'm glad he got to sit a year, and it's huge
in San Francisco.
It's huge. He sat a year with a well-coached team. You got to learn. You don't have to rely on big plays. You can do small ding-a-dunk things, and then when moments need it, you step up and you make the plays. And Darnold's got you guys 14-2, dude. He's been amazing.
Sam Darnold, like, he's playing so confidently. Like, there's not a throw this guy can't make right now.
This is the quarterback that he was drafted coming out of college to be. Like, he was drafted so young, and he needed time to develop, and he got it. Obviously, he's not going to have time to develop when you're with the Jets and the Panthers because they're trash organizations. He got a year to sit with a great coach and develop and really learn the NFL system and what you need to do to succeed. And now he has another great coach in Sean McVay. So
Kevin O'Connell,
Sean McVay was yep.
Same person.
It's the same coaching system. 100%. Yeah. Oh, Jefferson
8 for 92. Addison 6 for 69 and a touchdown. Hey, Jalen Naylor was great too, 5 for 81 and a touchdown for Speedy Naylor.
Games. Yeah, he's had a nice.
He was great
season.
when Addison was out. Like, he was playable. And TJ Hawkinson 5 for 68. Good to see him involved. Aaron Jones, not much involvement, but he did get banged up, so we'll monitor him. Cam Akers looked good. He had a game-saving catch. He had a touchdown. Kevin O'Connell loves that guy.
That catch was huge.
Aaron Jones, a free agent. It wouldn't surprise me if the Vikings draft a running back in like the 4th, and they bring Cam Akers back, and they run some sort of committee there. It's not Ty Chandler anymore.
No, it's definitely not. Bullet. It's not Ty. It wouldn't surprise you if you bring Aaron Jones back, to be honest. You guys love Aaron Jones as well. So
I agree. Jordan Love, 19 for 30, 185 and a touchdown. Not his best game. No. Josh Jacobs, 17 for 69. He did find the end zone. He also fumbled.
No good real life
receiving
game.
Work. Yeah. Romeo Dobbs, 7 for 58. Dontavian Wicks, 4 for 43. Jaden Reed, 1 for 6.
Jaden Reed looked horrendous, dude. Like, it was bad.
Like, and this team almost like missed Christian Watson. He's been the big play guy, and he wasn't out there. And The offense just felt clunky. Minnesota's defense really got to them. Like, this game much closer than the actual score.
I mean, the score's close.
Or much,
it's
not as close as the actual score is what I meant.
a lot of this came back with like 3 minutes left in the fourth. They scored quick, and then they scored again.
Yeah.
So I agree. It really wasn't close, to be honest. Like, you guys dominated this game, and if you watched the full game and not just box scored it, you've seen that Minnesota was just a better team. You guys beat Green Bay twice. You guys are the far superior team at this point in the season.
And biggest game of the season, Lions Vikings Sunday Night Football. No game with more wins
It's
in
the biggest
NFL
game
history.
in
Both
NFL
teams.
history.
Yeah,
It's like statistically.
that's not a Super Bowl. Yeah.
Well, no, like regular. It's the biggest regular season game in NFL history.
Yeah, it's gonna be something. Sunday night, Washington got an overtime win over Atlanta. Landers improved to 11-5. Atlanta falls to 8-8. Penix, rookie stuff, 223 touchdown interception. Bijan, great game, 90 for 2 touchdowns, 3 grabs, 8 yards. Drake London, 13 targets, 7 for 106. What a game for Drake London. And Kyle Pitts found the end zone, 4 for 44 and a tutty for Kyle Pitts. If you stuck with him, if you got there, that's a thing in its own right.
That's amazing. That's a true feat. That's an accomplishment.
Yep.
They used Kyle Pitts very early in this game. He brought in 3 of his 4 catches right off the bat, and then he wasn't used at all until he got his touchdown late in the game. So it was very weird. Like, just consistently use this guy. Come on now. What are you doing? Kyle Pitts is great. I love this guy.
Yeah. We'll see going into next year. Atlanta, Penix is going to be the guy. They're going to move on from Kirk Cousins. So
it's for sure Penix.
We'll see.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Penix, lefty. Bijan's a lefty. They did a pass with him. He threw with his left hand. And Drake London is also left-handed. So Atlanta just brings in left-handed dudes. Jaden Daniels, not left-handed, 227 through the air, 3 touchdowns.
Start of the week.
16 carries for 127 yards.
Big dog shit. Yeah, dude, he's the best. He is so good. I love Jaden Daniels, dude. He's amazing. He gives me hope as a Giants fan. It's like, if we don't have the first pick, it's fine. Like, I obviously CJ Stroud's rookie year, he wasn't the first pick either. So, like, it's the second quarterback taken. So if we don't have the first pick, we don't have the chance to fuck it up like the other 2 teams. Obviously, I don't think Caleb Williams will fuck up, and Bryce Young has looked tremendously better this season.
Yeah.
So, but Jaden Daniels, dude, he is a legitimately real life good quarterback.
Changer, Dan Quinn, everybody came in here. Washington is Washington run game wasn't really much. Like, Brian Robinson had 60 yards, but no touchdowns, no real receiving work as well. Terry McLaurin, 1 for 5.
Heartbreaking performance.
Yeah. Yep. We badmouth. I said, like, Zacchaeus, you're not going to bring him in. 8 for 85 and a touchdown.
Unbelievable.
Little 2-3 game run he's been on. But Zach Ertz, he got all the incentives he was looking for. 6 for 72 and 2 touchdowns. He made money on Sunday. He hit his incentive mark on catches and touchdowns and yards.
Yeah, he made like $750,000 that game. Yep. And they clinched like a playoff spot and whatnot. It was a great game.
What a great year for Zach Ertz.
Oh, yeah. Zacchaeus, though, both his games, his 2 big performances, Philly and Atlanta, both revenge games. He's played for both of those teams in the past. So that's true. That's pretty cool when you can go out there and shine big time versus old teams. Zach Ertz did it as well. He did it versus Philly early on. He had a huge touchdown. So, it's great to see Zach Ertz out there still.
Yeah, Zach Ertz tight end 7 on the year.
Yeah.
Yep. I think him and Jonnu Smith.
I think he moved him to the top
4.
Top 10 all time in tight end yards.
Touchdowns.
Touchdowns, is that what it is? It's one of them. I don't know what it is. But Zach Ertz, he's had a great career, dude. At one point, him and Philly, dude, he was a fantasy tight end 1 too. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and because of him, everybody overrated Dallas Goedert, and Dallas Goedert, not Zach Ertz.
That's true. Consistently shows up that he's not Zach Ertz. Like, even now, Zach Ertz is old, and he's still so much better than Dallas Goedert. Dude.
Monday night, Detroit beat San Francisco.
Shootout.
They improved to 14-2. The Niners fall to 6-10. But 40-34. Brock Purdy, 377, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also had a rushing touchdown, so 4 touchdown performance from him. Niners, they're just glad. Well, they got one more game, but this year's been a wash for them. Garendo, 4 for 65 through the air, 9 for 34 on the ground. Ricky Pearsall, You love to see it because he has had a rough go with penalties and just drops.
Huge
8
breakout
for
game.
140, 8 for 141 and a touchdown. Debo Samuel, 1 catch for 5 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
3 for 16 on the ground. Juwan Jennings, 10 targets, 7 for 67. And George Kittle, what a season he's had.
Yep.
8
Great
for
performance.
112.
Tight end 2 in the year. Over 1,000 yards again. Kittle, great. Phenomenal.
Yeah. The tight end 1 in points per game. He missed 2 games. Averaged 16.6 points per game. What an incredible year for George Kittle. Always a value in fantasy. Like, he's always drafted as like the 5th tight end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And Detroit, Jared Goff, 303, 3 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, 117 and 1, 4 for 46 through the air. He's playing himself into a potential top 5 pick going into next year, seeing what he can do on his own this season without Montgomery here to end. Jameson Williams, 5 for 77 and a touchdown. He also had a rushing touchdown. Great game for him. Amon-Ra, 8 for 60 and a touchdown.
Did you see the
Sam
rushing
Laporta.
touchdown?
Yes. What a play.
It was the trick play that we drew up in backyard football. It's literally like the screen pass and then you pitch it back. It was amazing. They ran it and I'm like, that's the play. It was literally like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. I'm sitting on my bed, looking at my TV, pointing at it, going, that's the play. That's the play we drew up a decade ago in fucking backyard football. Ben Johnson's just out. Ben Johnson's out here playing backyard football. I love it.
Yep.
It's great.
Hey, Sam Laporta also got in the end zone, 6 for 64, and a touchdown. Strong finish for Laporta.
Looks good. Yeah.
Strong finish.
This is what you needed to see to keep him in relevancy. Like, he's obviously going to be fantasy relevant next year, but this is a confidence in him that you can draft him to be your tight end.
Yep. Yeah. I think he'll be a top 4 tight end drafted, top 5 tight end. Drafted next year.
He should be in that range.
Kittle, Purdy, and McBride. Not Purdy. Bowers and McBride should be the top 3, just like this year.
Mark Andrews should be in that conversation as well, I think.
I would put Andrews 5. I would take Laporta over Andrews.
It's tough. Mark Andrews is like the number 1 option. Laporta has so much around him where it's hard for him to consistently do it.
Zay Flowers is the number 1 option. He leads the team in targets.
Yeah, I get that. But Mark Andrews had a rough stretch of time, and he wasn't healthy.
I think 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, I get that. Detroit's got 2 of those, and then 2 elite running backs.
Is Jameson Williams a 1,000-yard guy?
I think he's pretty close. I know he got suspended.
967. So yeah,
he's gonna get it.
He'll get that against Minnesota.
Yeah, he's gonna get it for sure. Yeah,
1 play.
You love to see that. Like,
right.
He's had such an amazing season. I'm so glad, dude.
And Detroit was honest about it. They came out and said it this year, like, this is Jameson Williams. He's made strides. And in the past, they've always been very negative. Like, hey, he's got to do this. He's got to be better about this. He's got to mature.
We brought that up in the offseason, and I was like, I was pretty confident because, like you said, Detroit was just super honest with Jameson Williams the whole time. He's not mature. He's doing stuff in practice that's going to keep him off the field. And the season was, hey, he took the strides needed to show that he's the number 2 receiver on this team. And now look what happened. He's an amazing receiver. He's doing interviews at the end of the game because he's one of the better options here in Detroit. You just love to see it. I'm glad this kid has finally matured, and he showed up to be the receiver he was drafted to be.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Let's dive into our Tuesday prospect spotlight. Before we do that, though, let's shout out our friends over at W Energy. Got to get that pick-me-up, get a little caffeine in you if you're not a coffee person. Say you don't like coffee. Well, you got an energy drink here, W Energy. They pride themselves on full transparency and ingredient disclosure. No sugars, no calories, no artificial dyes, no fillers. They got a mobile app, which is cool. Just search W Energy on your Play Store or Apple App Store. Just W, D-U-B-B-Y. Be better. Get that dub with W Energy. Use the code DRAFTEDUP for a 10% discount at checkout. W Energy. Get that dub. Be better. Or as you say, eat that dub. That's what you want them.
Eat that dub. W Energy. I got a text today from one of our buddies who listens to the pod and recently went out and got the 9 caffeine watermelon one, and he loves it. He's super into it. It tastes like the watermelon Jolly Rancher. So shout out the product, shout out K-Dog. It's awesome. I love seeing it. Love the support from the fans. Hell yeah, dude. Eat that dub. W Energy.
All right. Who's your prospect this week, Nicholas?
I'm shooting back to the bias of Miami. There's another guy on that team I really, really like, and it's Cam Ward's number one option. It's Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver. He's not a big body guy, and he's not going to play a lot of the outside. He's pretty much a slot guy, but he's 5'10", a little under 200. But he's got amazing football IQ, dude. Like, everything he does from a football move, every step he takes, every cut he makes, the speed at which he runs, it's all done as a football IQ moves because he's smarter than 99% of the guys out there, and he knows where he needs to be in the moment he needs to be. And when the ball is put on him, he's going to catch it. He's got amazing hands. He can high point the ball. He's had back-to-back seasons with Miami, 1,000 yards. And that's two different quarterbacks too. So it's not like you've had Cam Ward with him both years, and he had an amazing year with Cam Ward. He's great after the catch, dude. Like, he's a lot like I'm blanking on the guy's name last year. I loved him coming out Western Kentucky.
Malachi Corley,
that's his name. But yeah, like, he's so good after the catch, and he's not big, but he's shifty and he's smart, so he knows where he needs to be and just make you look like a fool on the other side of the ball. He's super quick off the line, which I love. He's not super fast. He's not super athletic, but his IQ makes up for that. And he's a lot like Adam Thielen. Like, I don't want to say how good Adam Thielen is because obviously people think he's not great, but Adam Thielen has been good for a long time in the NFL, and he's not out here burning people. He's not out here athletically gifted. He's smart. He knows how to run routes. He knows where he needs to be, and he's got great hands. He's everything you want in a really reliable receiver. I get he's not gonna body people. He's really bad when you get press on him because he's a little bit smaller, but he's playing slot. He's not gonna get a lot of press. I'm really high on Restrepo. He might not fall into the first round territory, but there's a chance he blows up the combine, and he could show off at pro days because he's got Cam out there throwing the ball. So I'm really high on Xavier Restrepo. It's not just a Miami thing. They got real talent this year. So Restrepo is one of the, I'm not going to say he's in my top 5 receivers because we haven't got there yet, but it's looking like he's going to be close to my top 5 this year.
Yeah, no, I like Restrepo. He's not my top 5 as of now. But with this class, receiving wise, to me, there's the top 2 guys, and then after that, you can. Well, I'm not. This is not counting. This was not counting Travis Hunter.
Okay.
I was talking about Tataroa and.
Well, then you're fine. You're fine.
And Luther Burden.
Luther, yeah, okay. I thought you weren't counting him. I thought you were counting Travis Hunter and
No.
I was about to start
Travis
throwing
Hunter,
hands.
I never count him in either because he's in his own category because of just playing both positions. But after that, 3 through whatever, it's a clump.
It's anyone.
It could be anybody. Yep. But watching Restrepo, I'm going to throw a name out here. When I watched Restrepo, it brought back Boise State Khalil Shakir. I see it. Small, strong, good route runner, just good, efficient football player.
Yeah,
I think that's a good comp too.
He's very Sterling Shepard. He's just smarter than everybody. He's not super athletic. He's not a burner, but he runs his route tree super clean. His hands are great, and he's super reliable. There's a reason he's had back-to-back seasons over 1,000 yards. I'm pretty sure he set the catch record in Miami the one season, and he's been in Miami 5 years. He's not a transfer guy. He's played through 5 years in Miami, and he's.
But he didn't play the bowl game.
Yeah, oh, good God. It is what it is. If people freaking out about Cam Ward only playing half the game, I don't care. It is what it is. But yeah.
Restrepo, second, third round guy. There's a chance, hey, there's a team that drafts Cam Ward.
I think he's a second round guy.
Team that drafts Cam Ward, you need a receiver. It wouldn't surprise me if they end up together.
Hey, you're looking at the Giants, baby. I would love both those boys in New York blue, baby.
So
Restrepo with Neighbors, dude, that'd be great. I get he's a better version of Wandale. If we want to use Wandale,
a much better version.
He's exactly he could do what Wandale does at a such higher elite level. So I love Restrepo, and Wandale went in the second. So
yeah,
he shouldn't have, but he did.
So you've brought 2 running backs to the table. You talked about Ashton Jeanty. You've talked about Caleb Johnson.
Yes, sir.
I haven't brought a running back to the table. So
you're bringing
I'm
the other
finally
one?
doing it. Kansas State's DJ Giddens.
I like that. You're not even going NC State or NC.
What?
You're not going North Carolina for running back.
Amarian Hampton.
When you said running back, I just automatically assumed you were going with that. But no, I like that.
DJ love this dude's tape. If you just want to watch one DJ Giddens play, look up the juke move he put on Shiloh Sanders when they played Colorado, and he literally had this man buckling. Yeah. It looked like his legs stopped working. Like you're sitting too long on the toilet and your legs fell asleep and you try to stand up. That's what happened to Shiloh Sanders.
Legitimate rubber legs, dude.
DJ Giddens, good size, 6 foot, 212. Perfect size for a running back.
Uh-huh.
College production, 2 really good seasons. 2023, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, 29 catches for 323 and another 3. This year, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns. Catches went down a little, 21, 258, 1 touchdown. But this man, like, I watch him and I see it, like, he does lack the breakaway speed, doesn't really have that second gear, not good in pass protection. You know who else lacked all that stuff? Bucky Irving. You watch the game tape, and DJ Giddens is an incredible football player. He might be the shiftiest back in the draft. Like, he puts that foot down and goes, you're done. Dangerous in the open field. He makes players miss. He's incredibly patient, too. He waits. He lets his whole form, lets the line do their job, create his opening. He's not going to be a guy who's just going to bounce it to the outside and try to pick up yards. He's a north-south runner. He wants to play to unfold, and he does a great job of that. He's incredibly productive. He makes defenders miss. Like, this guy's a really good running back. Running backs aren't valued, so he's probably going to fall second. He's not going to be a second-round guy, probably. Third round, though, you're looking third round, and I think he's a great pick. I would love Minnesota to bring him in, pair him with Cam Akers or Aaron Jones and be the next guy there. I think we're looking at a guy who's not going to blow up the combine, and he's going to kind of fall down running back boards, but got good size. Like I said, 6 foot, 212. But you watch the game tape. The game tape is what matters. I'm not worried about his testing ability. I think he can be a good receiving back as well. Like, he hasn't had the opportunity to do that. Pass protection, most running backs in college aren't good at it anyways.
Exactly.
Like, you can be caught from behind, but the game tape shows, like, he's super shifty. He's so dangerous in the open field. He's great at making defenders miss. Like, this is a NFL running back. And I think he's going to be a steal. I'll tell you right now, he's my RB2. Behind Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah. That's high.
He is the guy I am planting my flag on.
I love it. I love that. He has the size to be able to learn how to pass block, and he has the intangibles to do it. You brought up, it doesn't really matter what you're doing college-wise pass blocking, as long as you're showing you have the intangibles to be coachable, to learn how to pass block, because that's when you really start developing it. With NFL coaches, NFL schemes, that's when the pass block starts coming into play. Because you're also you're young. At the end of the day, these guys are 19, 21. These guys are young men, and they're not fully developed. That sounds super weird coming from me because I still think I'm young. I'm 30. But these are young kids, and they're not developed. So it takes time for them to actually start working out right, getting on a regimen. And like, the weight room in college is a completely different territory than the weight room in the pros. They're hitting the weights harder, way harder, 10 times harder in the pros. So I think he has a legitimate, he can become a legitimate NFL workhorse back if given the right opportunity. And that's a great pick. Time to shine for sure.
Yep, he is my plant flag, the guy I'm planting my flag on, like I did last year with Brian Thomas Jr. Running backs are a little tricky. Like, you can easily be wrong because
way harder to call.
Because if he goes to a situation where he's just sitting behind people, no matter how talented he is, he's stuck behind other really good running backs. But if he falls into a situation where there's playing time available, I think you're looking at a huge asset. Whether in the NFL, I think he's also going to be a dynasty grab. Like, if he ends up in the right situation, like I said, if he goes to Minnesota, goes to Vegas, like these teams that don't have a set lock and stone running back, I think DJ Giddens can be that guy. I'm in. I'm going to be higher on him than most people, I believe. Like I said, he's my RB2. I don't see many lists where he's even in the top 5.
Yeah, two's high. Probably have him outside my top 5 if I had to take an estimation right now. But I haven't watched everybody, obviously, so there's a chance he moves up a little bit. Yeah, I like it. I was going to bring up something I totally forgot. Oh, you brought up patience. There are so many running backs in this class that remind me of just Le'Veon Bell at how they are patient behind the line, and they don't juke too fast. They don't make unnecessary movements. They wait, and they know the hole will open at some point. And when it opens, they hit that fucking thing, dude. And it's like they're being shot out of a cannon, and they are just downhill running right through it. There's so many good running backs in this class I love. I hope a handful of them hit, and we just get a huge running back surge, because the 3 guys in the market last year, Barkley, King Henry, Josh Jacobs, they did everything in their power to make running backs a valuable position again. So it's time for the draft to step up, and these young kids come in and show us what you got. Bijan's one that's doing it. Gibbs is doing it. Brees Hall, hopefully you step up. Achan, he's looked good all season. So there's so many good young talented running backs in the NFL right now.
James Cook.
Oh yeah, I'm not. If I didn't mention people, I'm not like trying to James Cook's another one for sure.
Giddens is a true junior, so this is his first draft eligible year, and he's already declared. Like, he's already coming in nice and young, 21 years old. Not a ton of college work. He's only got 517 carries, 575 total plays. So he's not got a lot of wear and tear. So we'll see him through the draft process. Like I said, like, don't let the combine number scare you, because I don't think he's going to test out of the water.
Yeah,
focus on that tape. He's Bucky Irving for me, and we know how high we were on Bucky compared to most people. I think DJ Giddens is that guy this year. So we got finesse guys this week, because you brought Restrepo, who's not going to blow people out of the water, but really good football player. And DJ Giddens here, Kansas State. Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver, Miami. All right, guys, that'll do it. Podcast in the books. We'll be back on Thursday, where we'll talk Week 18. Maybe we'll give you starts of the week.
The recap. Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens.
Preview. Yeah.
If you're playing in Week
fantasy
18, you need to message your commissioner. It's a sin. What are we doing out here?
Like I said, if you guys are interested in doing a listener dynasty league, comment below, find us on socials, tell us there, and we'll get that set up, have a little fun. Like I said, you know where to find us at @DraftedUp_pod on Twitter, Apple, YouTube, Spotify. Search Drafted Up Podcast, like, rate, subscribe, review, share, tell a friend. Support our friends over at Dubby and Cafe Colazzo. And then I updated the link tree. If you just go to there, it has all the links to everything. Then that's @DraftedUp_pod. As always, that's Nick. I'm Theo. This is the Drafted Up Podcast. We'll catch you guys Thursday.
Congratulations on your titles if you won, y'all. Season's over though, so relax. Bye.